The Destructors by Graham Greene, 3. Next morning, the serious destruction started. 2 were missing, Mike and another boy whose parents were off to Southend and Brighton, in spite of the slow, warm drops that had begun to fall and the rumble of thunder in the estuary like the first guns of the old Blitz. "We've got to hurry," T said. Summers were restive. "Haven't we done enough?" Or Summers was restive. "Haven't we done enough?" he asked. "I've been given a bob for slot machines. This is like work." "We've hardly started," T said. "Why, there's all the floors left. And the stairs. We haven't taken out a single window. You voted like the others. We are going to destroy this house. There won't be anything left when we're finished." They began again on the first floor, picking up the top floorboards next to the outer wall, leaving the joists exposed. Then they sawed through the joists and retreated into the hall. All that was left of the floor healed and sank. They had learnt with practice, and the second floor collapsed more easily. By the evening, an odd exhilaration seized them as they looked down the great hollow of the house. They ran risks and made mistakes. When they thought of the windows, it was too late to reach them. "Caw," Joe said, and dropped a penny down into the dry rubble-filled well. It cracked and span amongst the broken glass. "Why did we start this?" Summers asked with astonishment. T was already on the ground, digging at the rubble, clearing a space along the outer wall. "Turn on the taps," he said. "It's too dark for anyone to see now, and in the morning it won't matter." The water overtook them on the stairs and fell through the floorless rooms. It was then they heard Mike's whistle at the back. "Something's wrong," Blackie said. They could hear his urgent breathing as they unlocked the door. "The bogies?" Summers asked. "Old Misery," Mike said. "He's on his way." He's on his way, he said with pride. "But why?" T said. "He told me." He protested with the fury of the child he had never been. "It isn't fair!" "He went down to Southend," Mike said, "and he was on the train coming back. Said it was too cold and wet." He paused and gazed at the water. "Ma, you've had a storm here. Is the roof leaking? How long will he be?" "5 minutes. I gave Ma the slip and ran." "We better clear," Summers said. "We've done enough anyway." "Oh, no, we haven't. Anybody could do this." This was the shattered, hollowed house, with nothing left but the walls. Yet walls could be preserved. Facades were valuable. They could build inside again more beautifully than before. This could again be a home, he said angrily. "We've got to finish. Don't move, let me think." "There's no time," a boy said. "There's got to be a way," T said. "We couldn't have got this far." "We've done a lot," Blackie said. No, we haven't. Somebody watch the front." "We can't do any more. He may come at the back." "Watch the back too," T began to plead. "Just give me a minute and I'll fix it. I swear I'll fix it." But his authority had gone with his ambiguity. He was only one of the gang. "Please," he said. "Please," Summers mimicked him, and then suddenly struck home with the fatal name. "Run along home, Trevor." T stood with his back to the rubble, like a boxer knocked groggily against the ropes. He had no words as his dreams shook and slid. Then Blackie acted before the gang had time to laugh, pushing Summers backwards. "I'll watch the front, T," he said, and cautiously he opened the shutters of the hall. The gray, wet common stretched ahead, and the lamps gleamed in the puddles. "Someone's coming, T." "No, it's not him." "What's your plan, T?" "Tell Mike to go to the lab and hide close beside it. When he hears me whistle, he's got to count 10 and start to shout." "Shout what?" "Oh, help, anything." "You hear, Mike?" Blackie said. He was the leader again. He took a quick look between the shutters. "He's coming, T." "Quick, Mike, the lab. Stay here. Blackie, all of you, till I yell." "Where are you going, T?" "Don't worry, I'll see to this. I said I would, didn't I?" Old Misery came limping off the common. He had mud on his shoes, and he stopped to scrape them on the pavement's edge. He didn't want to soil his house, which stood jagged and dark between the bomb sites, saved so narrowly, as he believed, from destruction. Even the fanlight had been left unbroken by the bomb's blast. Somewhere, somebody whistled. Old Misery looked sharply round. He didn't trust whistles. A child was shouting. It seemed to come from his own garden. Then a boy ran into the road from the car park. "Mr. Thomas!" he called. "Mr. Thomas!" "What is it?" "I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Thomas. One of us got taken short, and we thought you wouldn't mind, and now he can't get out." "What do you mean, boy?" He's got stuck in your lav." "He'd no business. Haven't I seen you before?" "You showed me your house." So I did. That doesn't give you the right to..." "Do hurry, Mr. Thomas. He'll suffocate." "Nonsense. He can't suffocate. Wait till I put my bag in." "I'll carry your bag." "Oh, no, you don't. I'll carry my own." "This way, Mr. Thomas." "I can't get in the garden that way. I've got to go through the house." "But you can't get in the garden this way, Mr. Thomas. We often do." "You often do?" He followed the boy with a scandalized fascination. What right? Do you see? The wall's low." "I'm not going to climb the walls into my own garden. It's absurd." "This is how we do it. 1 foot here, 1 foot there and over." The boy's face peered down, an arm shot out, and Mr. Thomas found his bag taken and deposited on the other side of the wall. "Give me back my bag," Mr. Thomas said. From the loo, a boy yelled and yelled. "I'll call the police." "Your bag's all right, Mr. Thomas. Look, 1 foot there on your right. Now just above to your left, Mr. Thomas." Mr. Thomas climbed over his own garden wall. "Here's your bag, Mr. Thomas." "I'll have the wall built up," Mr. Thomas said. "I'll not have you boys coming over here, using my loo." He stumbled on the path, but the boy caught his elbow and supported him. Thank you, my boy," he murmured automatically. Somebody shouted again through the dark. I'm coming," Mr. Thomas called. He said to the boy beside him, "I'm not unreasonable. Been a boy myself. As long as things are done regular, I don't mind you playing round the place Saturday mornings. Sometimes I like company, only it's got to be regular. One of you asks leave and I say yes. Sometimes I'll say no, won't feel like it. And you come in at the front door and out at the back. No garden walls." "Do get him out, Mr. Thomas." "He won't come to any harm in my loo," Mr. Thomas said, stumbling slowly down the garden. "Oh, my rheumatics," he said. "Always get 'em on bank holiday. I've got to be careful. There's loose stones here. Give me your hand." "Do you know what my horoscope said yesterday? Abstain from any dealings in first half of week. Danger of serious crash." "That might be on this path," Mr. Thomas said. "They speak in parables and double meanings." He paused at the door of the loo. "What's the matter in there?" he called. There was no reply. "Perhaps he's fainted," the boy said. "Not in my loo. Here, you come out," Mr. Thomas said. Giving a great jerk at the door, he nearly fell on his back when it swung easily open. A hand first supported him and then pushed him hard. His head hit the opposite wall and he sat heavily down. His bag hit his feet. A hand whipped the key out of the lock and the door slammed. "Let me out," he called, and heard the key turn in the lock. A serious crash, he thought, and felt dithery and confused and old. A voice spoke to him softly through the star-shaped hole in the door. "Don't worry, Mr. Thomas," it said. "We won't hurt you, not if you stay quiet." Mr. Thomas put his head between his hands and pondered. He had noticed that there was only one lorry in the car park, and he felt certain that the driver would not come for it before the morning. Nobody could hear him from the road in front, and the lane at the back was seldom used. Anyone who passed there would be hurrying home and would not pause for what they would certainly take to be drunken cries. And if he did call help, who, on a lonely bank holiday evening, would have the courage to investigate? Mr. Thomas sat on the loo and pondered with the wisdom of age. After a while, it seemed to him that there were sounds in the silence. They were faint and came from the direction of his house. He stood up and peered through the ventilation hole. Between the cracks in one of the shutters he saw a light, not the light of a lamp, but the wavering light that a candle might give. Then he thought he heard the sound of hammering and scraping and chipping. He thought of burglars. Perhaps they had employed the boy as a scout, but why should burglars engage in what sounded more like a stealthy form of carpentry? Mr. Thomas let out an experimental yell, but nobody answered. The noise could not even have reached his enemies. And we'll pause there.